History is written by the survivors, but legends are written in blood. Among all the names that echo through the halls of Valhalla, one stands taller than the rest: Ragnar Lothbrok. To the monks of Northumbria, he was a demon sent from hell. To the Vikings, he was a living god. But was he a man who followed the will of the Aesir, or was he a rebel who dared to challenge the very destiny the Norns wove for him? This is not just a story of raids, it is a story of a man who looked at the heavens and refused to blink.
Welcome to Historical Channel, uncovering untold stories, hidden facts, and the strangest chapters of history.
To understand the magnitude of what Ragnar was about to do, we have to look at the world through the eyes of an 8th century Northman. The sea wasn't just water, it was the domain of the Midgard serpent. To sail beyond the sight of land was considered a death sentence, a journey into a gray void where the horizon swallowed the sun. For generations, the Norse had hugged the coastlines of Scandinavia, raiding only what they could see from their own shores. But Ragnar Lothbrok was plagued by a different kind of fear, the fear of a life lived small. While the elders spoke of the gods' warnings, Ragnar spoke of the sunstone and the stars. The year is 793. In the smoky longhouses of Kattegat, the air is thick with skepticism. Ragnar's plan is viewed as madness. Why risk the precious longships, the lifeblood of the village, on a blind sprint into the sunset? The gods, according to the local earls and seers, had already provided for the people. To seek more was to show a lack of gratitude to Odin, the All-Father. But Ragnar's defiance began here, in the mind. He challenged the most fundamental Norse belief that fate is static. He famously claimed that the gods don't just give gifts, they provide opportunities for the brave to seize. He gathered a crew of madmen, those with nothing to lose and everything to gain, and pushed a lone longship into the frigid waters of the North Sea. For days they saw nothing but the endless churning gray of the Atlantic. This is where the defiance truly took hold. As the food ran low and the men began to murmur about Aegir's wrath and the sea demons, Ragnar stood at the prow. He wasn't just navigating a boat, he was navigating a psychological revolution. Every mile they sailed west was a nail in the coffin of old superstitions. He was proving that the unknown was merely a place that hadn't been conquered yet. On June 8th, the mist cleared. Rising from the waves like a ghost was the holy island of Lindisfarne. For the monks in the monastery, it was a day of prayer. They had no walls, no soldiers, and no weapons. Why would they? They were protected by the almighty God of Christendom. Ragnar's men hit the beach like a thunderbolt. The violence was swift and terrifying. They didn't just take the gold, they shattered the sanctity of the place. They trampled the altars, slew the monks, and dragged away the treasures of the church. In that moment of blood and salt, Ragnar Lothbrok defied two religions at once. He proved to his own people that the Forbidden West was a land of milk and honey, and he proved to the Saxons that their one true god was powerless against a man who did not fear him. When the longship returned to Scandinavia, low in the water from the weight of silver and slaves, the world changed forever. The fear of the unknown was dead. Ragnar hadn't just brought back gold, he had brought back a map to the future. He had defied the gods of fear and replaced them with the god of ambition. Because of this one gambit, the Viking Age didn't just begin, it exploded. The map of Europe was about to be rewritten in Norse ink. By the year 845, Ragnar Lothbrok was no longer just a raider. He was a name that made mothers in the Frankish Empire whisper prayers of protection. But Ragnar's ambition had outgrown small villages and coastal monasteries. He set his sights on the jewel of the West, Paris. At this time, Paris was situated on the Ile de la Seine, an island in the middle of the Seine River. It was the heart of the Carolingian Empire, protected by Roman-built stone walls that had stood for centuries. To the Franks, Paris was more than a city. It was a symbol of God's order on earth. It was deemed impenetrable by barbarians who fought with axes and wooden shields. Ragnar's defiance began with a logistical nightmare. He assembled a fleet of 120 ships, carrying over 5,000 warriors. They didn't just sail the open sea, they navigated the narrow, winding mouth of the River Seine, rowing deep into the heart of enemy territory. Charles the Bald, the king of West Francia and grandson of Charlemagne, gathered a massive army to stop them. He split his forces on both sides of the river, thinking he could trap the Vikings. But Ragnar saw the flaw in the king's divine strategy. He concentrated his entire force on the smaller Frankish wing, obliterating them while the rest of the king's army watched helplessly from the opposite bank. In a display of terrifying defiance, he took 111 prisoners and hanged them on an island in the middle of the river, sacrificing them to Odin in full view of the Christian king. On Easter Sunday, the holiest day in the Christian calendar, the Vikings breached the walls. But as they entered the city, a new enemy appeared, one that no sword could kill. A plague began to sweep through the Viking ranks. The Frankish priests claimed this was the hand of God striking down the heathens for their arrogance. Many of Ragnar's veteran warriors, men who didn't fear death in battle, began to panic. They believed they were being cursed by the god of the south. This was Ragnar's ultimate defiance. He refused to retreat. He didn't bow to the curse. Instead, he maintained the siege with cold, calculating pressure. He understood something the monks didn't, that hunger and fear move a king faster than prayer. He held the city hostage, proving that even a plague sent by God wouldn't stop him from his prize. Broken and desperate, King Charles the Bald did something that would haunt the Frankish throne for centuries. He realized he could not win. He offered Ragnar a Danegeld, a massive tribute of 7,000 pounds of gold and silver, just to leave. This was the final blow to the divine right of kings. Ragnar had forced the most powerful ruler in Europe to pay for his own safety. He didn't just take the gold, he took the dignity of the empire. When Ragnar sailed back down the Seine, his ships were so heavy with treasure they sat deep in the water. He had proven that the walls of Christendom were made of mere stone, and the holy kings were just men who could be bought. The siege of Paris changed the world's power dynamic. It taught the Vikings that they didn't just have to raid, they could extort entire kingdoms. But most importantly, it cemented Ragnar Lothbrok as the man who dared to look at the greatest fortress of his time and say, "This belongs to me." In the Viking world, a man's legacy was his only path to immortality. But for a king, legacy often came with a poison pill. The seers and the sagas tell us that Ragnar was given a haunting prophecy. Your sons will be more famous than you. For any other warlord of the 9th century, this would be a threat. History is littered with kings who murdered their own sons, from the Roman emperors to the Tsars of Russia, driven by the paranoid fear that their offspring would steal their crown. But Ragnar Lothbrok chose a different path of defiance. He decided to defy his own ego. Instead of suppressing his sons, Ragnar turned his household into a crucible of legends. He didn't want heirs, he wanted conquerors. He pushed Bjorn, Ivar, Sigurd, and Ube into the fire of battle before they were even men. The defiance here was subtle but profound. By encouraging his sons to outshine him, Ragnar was challenging the very gods of jealousy. He was betting that a united bloodline was more powerful than a single solitary crown. He watched as Bjorn earned the name Ironside in the heat of battle, and instead of feeling diminished, Ragnar felt reinforced. He understood that while a man can be killed, a dynasty can become a god. Nowhere was this defiance more evident than in his relationship with Ivar the Boneless. In a society that practiced infanticide for the weak or the broken, Ragnar's decision to keep Ivar alive was a direct strike against the cold traditions of the North. Ragnar saw a different kind of strength in Ivar, a sharpness of mind that the gods of war usually reserved for the physically elite. By nurturing Ivar's brilliant, twisted intellect, Ragnar defied the Viking status quo. He taught Ivar that his mind was a more dangerous weapon than any axe. In doing so, he created the master strategist who would eventually bring the kingdoms of England to their knees. Ragnar didn't just accept Ivar, he weaponized him. The true blood oath wasn't just a promise of loyalty, it was a psychological bond. Ragnar instilled in his sons the idea that they were the instruments of a larger destiny. He told them that the world was a chessboard and he was merely setting the pieces. This bond was so strong that even when the sons grew powerful enough to overthrow their father, they never did. They remained his most loyal generals. This was Ragnar's greatest victory over the human condition. He ensured that when he eventually fell, he wouldn't be leaving a vacuum, he would be leaving a storm. Because Ragnar defied the urge to be the only hero, his death didn't end the Viking Age, it accelerated it. His sons didn't just inherit a kingdom, they inherited a mission. Bjorn would sail to the Mediterranean and touch the sands of Africa. Ivar would rewrite the laws of the English. By choosing family over his own vanity, Ragnar transformed himself from a mere king into the architect of an era. He proved that the greatest way to defy fate is to ensure your name is carried on the lips of those who surpass you. Ragnar Lothbrok defied the gods of status. He took the farmer raider and turned him into a global force. He proved that merit, courage, and a bit of madness were worth more than 1,000 years of royal bloodlines. He created the Viking, not just as a job, but as an idea. The idea that no matter where you start, the horizon is your only limit. He changed the world by forcing it to move. He broke the stagnation of Europe, leading to the birth of England as a unified nation, the settlement of Iceland, and the eventual discovery of the New World. Ragnar Lothbrok didn't just live a life, he sparked a fire that burned for 300 years. Ragnar Lothbrok was a man, a myth, and a revolution. By defying the gods of his time, he became a god for ours.